The following is a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.
Let's get after it, kids. No ifs, ands, or buts. It's called Butts, B-U-T-T-S, because it is Matt Butts. He, of course, is a divorce attorney, does family law as well. mbutslaw.net, mbutslaw.net, 948-4958, 948-4958. We'll give that out a couple times. Just go to mbutts, a divorce attorney, and you can find him online. He does fantastic, and I'm proud to say that he's actually doing some work for me, and he does some fantastic work, and very, very good to have him back on the show this week. How are you, my friend? Everything good?
Good, man. I will tell you, the summer has been so wide open. Everything is good. We're in court. I'm in court, I think, every day this week.
Wow.
So it's it's a haul, but man, we're getting a lot of good things done.
Are you one of those people? I've unfortunately had to deal with divorce attorneys the last 6 or 7 years of my life, and some attorneys will say, it's amazing. We'll do whatever it takes not to go to court. We don't want to go to court because you don't want to go to court, and no one does. Now, some people want to go to court. I understand that,
Yes.
and some attorneys get off on going to court because they really enjoy. Well, and you want an attorney that likes going to court because they're going to get
I
off
like
on
going
it.
to court.
But can you talk a little bit about that? Because most good attorneys will tell you, "Hey, we're going to do everything we can so you don't have to go through this hell, because it is hell to go to court. It's not fun."
At every consultation, I tell my clients that I have two speeds. The first speed is absolutely reasonable. Let's do as little harm to anybody, but let's get what's fair.
Mm-hmm.
The second speed is let's roll. Because, the thing is, the case is either going to dismiss, settle, or try. You need to work just as hard towards settlement as you do toward preparing for trial. And actually, preparing for trial helps you settle cases. So, it's case by case. Believe me, there are some clients that I'm like, look, we've got to try this case. And there are other clients I'm like, you don't want to try this case.
Yeah.
So it's case by case, fact by fact. What is the evidence? What's this trial going to look? I can envision what's going to happen in the trial. And so sometimes you have evidence that's just like really, really beneficial. Looks like it would be beneficial for you, but if you knew the background of how a judge is going to interpret it, you're like, don't ever do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, sometimes people think they have such good evidence to go to trial, and it's like, it's not that great, but. And sometimes they've got something they don't think's great, and it's like, dude, this is smoking gun.
Well, and particularly in your situation, and again, I've been before enough judges where the judge will say, listen, you need to do the best. I think the day I went, there were like 17 other cases before mine, and they were like, the judge said, listen, are you still talking? I implore you, even if you've been to mediation, go out in the hallway and talk one final time, and know that if you don't figure this out, both sides aren't going to like what I have to say. You're not going to let you, and because one side always thinks they're going to win, and I'm here to tell you, no one wins. There's a chance that, and I think judges know that they want to make it. The judge wants to make it difficult on both people, particularly when he knows that there's equal blame on both sides, and there normally is. And so he's like, there's a good chance neither one of you are going to like what I have to say, so you might as well figure out and get what you can. And I think out of the 17 cases, 14 of them settled before they actually went before the judge. Unfortunately, I was not one of them. So it's funny when you get in that courtroom and you hear that judge say that, all of a sudden you're willing to bend a little bit. So that's a good thing, because one way or another, you're going to get something, and you're not going to get everything you want. You're just not.
That's right.
And sometimes it's the big things that you don't get, and it's unfortunate. And you think to yourself, boy, is it too late to settle now? Yeah, it is, because it's already started. So I was watching the World Cup. And we're recording the show on the 14th. There's a World Cup game later on today at 2:00, another one tomorrow. And there was a video that went viral at the South Korea-South Africa game, I think it was, those two teams last week, where a guy and a girl are obviously for the same team, for South Korea, and they're laughing, they're having a good time, everything's good, and he's on his phone, and she's looking over at him, and the cameraman, for some reason, is on this couple. And it goes from 100 to 0 in like a split second. Next thing you know, they're arguing, and someone puts down, "Can I please file a divorce for someone else?" And that's what made it go viral, because everyone. And so, of course, it turned into this. She was like, "Why are you on your phone?" He's like, leave me
Yeah.
alone. I'm on my phone. I don't, we're at a, she's like, there's a soccer game going on here. It's the World Cup. And he's like, I don't care. And so we don't know if he was making a bet. We don't know if he was talking to his mistress. But anyway, they end up having this huge fight. And so the cameraman kept going back to them while it was on television and obviously making different types of reparations and different types of speech. And it turned out to be really, really funny. And you can see this couple just arguing during this game and ruining what they thought was going to be a beautiful soccer moment. And I wanted to ask you, what are some of the dumbest reasons you've ever seen people get a divorce? What give me a couple of things where you're like you want to you can't put up with what now? Because we always talk about that. We always talk about we always talk death by a thousand cuts, irreconcilable differences. I don't even know what the hell that means. But give me some of the things that you said you wanted to get a divorce because why? Can you give me a couple of those?
I'm trying to think of the ones that I actually can say without identifying people. I mean, that's the hardest part of that because I've got a whole armor, dude. I've got so much that I know I could say, but let me think. Sometimes, and we're talking about just things you wouldn't see coming, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the sex just isn't that good.
Okay.
Sometimes there's financial abuse.
Okay.
Sometimes there is an absolute twisting of biblical scriptures to really put the thumb down on the wife, or there's other scriptures that talk about a clanging cymbal of a wife, right? So you've got two different kinds of personalities. Sometimes they just can only bear each other for so long,
Yeah.
and so their reasoning is just sometimes we just don't get along. Sometimes it's, I mean, they just are not compatible at all. You've got one person who tries to, and don't get me wrong, I understand that men and women by and large think differently, but you've got some people that are just so miles apart that the reasons they got married, they probably couldn't give you any good ones, and they just tried to make it work for a long time.
Yeah.
So
You know,
there's that too.
and having gone through this process, it's just amazing to me. I always think about, I tell friends of mine that are going through troubles, just think about how you felt on your wedding night. I think you probably felt pretty good on your wedding night. You loved this woman. You wrote your own vows.
Yeah.
It's always been amazing to me as now a divorced man to love somebody so much that under God's guidance you want to spend the rest of your life with that person, and then somehow over the course of a period of time you cannot wait to get away from that individual. And it's like, how can you? It takes some want to. It is. I mean, obviously there's sacrifices, things you got to do to make marriages work. You have to work at it. You can't take anything for granted. But there are some people that just don't want to make it work anymore, and that's probably why it ends.
Sometimes they see the same cycles over and over and over and over and over and over and over to the point
Yep.
where they're like, this is what's going to happen. I trust you to act in accordance with your character.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
will do no better.
When you're talking about divorces, I saw this interesting article, quick quiz. Millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, or boomers, which one is more likely to get a divorce? Millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, or boomers? What do you think it is?
Uh,
It's not really even close. It is
I'm
boomers.
thinking boomers.
Yeah, it is boomers.
No, I
And
didn't know there was a correct answer there. I thought that was just
there,
an
there
open-ended
actually is.
thing.
And we actually talked about this on the show, No Ifs, Ands, or Buts with Matthew Butts about the gray divorce. And this
Yeah.
particular article here is from Yahoo Finance, which was very interesting. This, according to Susan Brown, who's co-director of the National Center for Family and Marriage Research at Bowling Green University. She told the New York Times that boomers, one of the reasons that the boomers are getting divorced at a better rate. And by the way, the rates are down to like 42% as opposed to what 50-50 used to be. So less people are getting divorced, but they're also waiting a lot longer to get married. And a lot of boomers wait till the kids get out of the house, and that's when they feel like, hey, listen, I still have part of my life left. I can still go find someone else that I really love, and I'll get the hell out. And as long as it's not, they're 65 years old, they still have time to do that. And so that I've done everything I could. I've raised my kids, and now it's me time. Which basically is, and I understand that. I get that. That's why the 7-year itch is now the 17 to 20-year itch. But I also, according to this article here that I think is really interesting, it says the female in these cases can expect a drop of living arrangements of somewhere between 30 and 40%. If they get out of a marriage as a boomer. And that's because they expect a certain way of life. Perhaps they didn't work. They were caretakers. They took care of the kids. And I know being a mother is the hardest job in the world. Don't email me. I get that. Certainly understand that. But yeah, if you haven't worked in 15 or 20 years and all of a sudden you're like, I'm 45 and I want to get back out there, guess what? You're going back in the workforce. And you probably should consider some of those things before you pull the string. I would hope that someone would not say, I'm not getting divorced because I want to have a nice place to live, but you may, a lot of people do that.
In the state of Alabama, a 20-year marriage is considered a long-term marriage, and the court shall consider alimony if it is feasible. And how it becomes feasible is if one person has an estate that is sufficient to support the other person. And generally, in periodic alimony, the standard is to be living the same type of lifestyle that you live during the marriage, if it's doable, right? If the person has a sufficient estate. There's also rehabilitative alimony. You were talking about the 45-year-old. So the 45-year-old's got to do a few things before they can really catch up, because, they did all this work to help you launch your career. We need to launch ours too. So there's rehabilitative alimony, which is considered a property settlement. It can be paid all at one time.
Wow. Well, I have never heard of that. I've just learned something there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that is if it's doable. If you don't have a
sufficient estate, right?
You don't have it. You don't have it. Yeah.
And it's just, man. Think about it. I hate to bring my own marriage into it because I'm not getting divorced, but my wife homeschools our 3 kids. Mm-hmm. What am I supposed to do? Just say, you take yours, I take mine. Yeah. Good luck making it. No, I can't do that.
Of course not.
Not that I'm divorcing her, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And ultimately, I'm here to tell you, it's about the kids. It's about the kids.
I want to touch on that generational thing that you were talking about, though, and I'm going to tread as lightly as. Are you Gen X or are you Boomer?
I'm right on the cusp of Boomer.
Okay, I'm an elder millennial.
Yeah, I'm right there.
I think that every generation gets a hard time from the other generations for a while, and then they end up doing something pretty good. Except for the boomers. By and large, don't get me wrong. I know some awesome boomers. Some of the best people I know in this salt of the earth people are boomers. However, their expectations are way higher than ours are. I remember when millennials were getting trashed on, and now we're bearing the workload. And right now they're making fun of Gen Zs, and I truly think Gen Z will be once they get through that hump of adolescence, they will be the generation that saves us.
Well, I think boomers are more of the get off my lawn kind of people. They're like progressive TV commercials. They're turning into their parents. I get that. A lot of that has to do with their age. I'm 60 years old.
Does.
So I'm with you. I wish like hell I could think like a 30-year-old, but I just can't. Thank God the physical aspects of my life are still working. So that's a good thing. I'm not on some blue yet. So you're right, though, but I think we do expect more because our generation before us expected more. I learned from my mom and dad. My dad was married for 56 years, and everyone said, "How'd you do it, Dad?" And he's like, "I didn't say it was fun." 50 years of it, he said, was horrible. My mom went through severe depression for years. She tried to kill herself. Then, of course, she had Alzheimer's. And my dad went and saw her every single day while she was at the nursing home. And I'm like, why are you putting yourself through this? And he goes, because I promised your mom and I promised God that I would look after her till her dying day. And if God has a good sense of humor, he will take her soon. And he did. But that's the way my dad dealt. That's the way my dad worked. He was going to do it to the letter of the law because that's what when he signed a contract, he signed a contract.
I only know what I see. And what I see is, I would say, upwards of 60% of my okay, how do I say this? More spoiled clients are boomers. It's just, I think.
When you say spoiled, what do you mean? Give me an example.
Unrealistic expectations of a client attorney.
What they're going to get out of
what they're going to get. They want to do more talking than they do listening. They want to be more. You're going to do this. I'm like, well, no, this is how it works. Whereas generally younger people do more listening than they do talking, and that's what.
Yeah,
That's the way it's worked. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, I'm not slashing a whole generation. I'm just saying
sure.
that it has been more prevalent that way. And I feel like the expectation, and that's fine. Expectations are high. I don't think that our generations have had that ability to have higher expectations because all we've had is higher prices and the wages are staying the same. I mean, I believe in the free market, but they are by and large staying the same. People are having a harder and harder time buying things, so it's more of a struggle, I would say, for even the Gen Xers, the millennials, and for the Gen Z because of this housing market and everything, than it was for the dollar went a lot further for a boomer than it did for us.
They sure
And
did.
I just,
Well, and we valued the dollar more too. I mean,
that's
when
true.
our TV broke, it was over. We didn't have a TV.
That's true.
When our TV went down, we didn't have a TV until we
No,
had enough money to buy TV. Now, everything we live in a disposable society where most things that we have we can just throw away and go buy a new one.
no.
And you can go get a 75-inch TV for $150. And I remember paying $8.99 for my 27-inch tube TV. I mean, it's just a different
Yeah,
time, and so it really is.
you're right.
You just brought up something really interesting. He is Matt Butts, by the way. He is fantastic, a divorce attorney, family law, mbutslaw.net, mbutslaw.net. Check out the website. It's really good. It's easy to navigate too, particularly for you dudes out there who don't like to go on internet a whole lot. When you have a couple, maybe you've had an instance of this, and you are taking care of one of the mothers or fathers of one of those two. How does that play off? You got a husband, you got a wife, they're not getting along, and maybe he's been looking after his dad. Maybe his dad's been living with him, or maybe her dad's been living with them over the last 4 or 5 years for whatever reason. It could be money, could be also whatever it is. And all of a sudden you have a divorce there. Um, Sometimes the husband may be closer to her father than she is actually with her own father.
Hmm.
Have you any situations where you always talk about separating, having a prenup? I get the old man. Are there situations where how are we going to make this work when we separate? How are we going to take care of this person? Or has that ever happened?
Yes, but most of the time it's going to be okay. It's your father. You're going to take care of your father, and obviously the court is not going to order anything concerning the care of the adult. But I also see cases where it's rare, but I see cases where this person's family sides with this person because this person was just an absolute moron and everybody knows it. And they're
Hmm.
like, okay, all right, we want to settle this thing. We're not trying to make a enemy out of you. We understand. Um, that's always good to see. I
Yeah.
mean, it's good to see people apply common sense, and that doesn't mean you don't love your own blood. That means that you understand that your blood has done a wrong, and you want help for them, and you want the
Sure.
situation better. But you're not going to do it by demonizing someone who didn't do anything wrong.
Sure. Info at TonyCurryRadio.net, info at TonyCurryRadio.net. We always get emails here. Melissa said that she loves the show. She did say we need new shows. She said, where are my new shows? So we promise we will continue
You,
to do these.
Melissa, that they
Well,
are here. I've been in court.
that's a good thing. They don't like old
Tony,
shows. They want new
Tony
shows.
texts me every Tuesday, and I'm
I
either
do.
like, dude, I can do it, or no, man, I'm in the middle of
And if
one.
you can't,
So
we just got to pick it. We got to pick it another time. We got to make sure we
that's
get
right.
one out every single week. It's super, super important. Melissa wants to know more about prenups.
Yeah.
What exactly can be put in a prenup? We always talk about stocks and bonds.
Hmm.
I know it's not a particularly sexy or loving type of thing to get into, but obviously, if you're getting into a relationship and you are worth a lot of money, it is a smart idea to get a prenup. I think we both agree on that. I know a lot of people are like, well, if you love them, it should be da da da. No, we just told you that
He
you love
leaves
someone.
logic.
I just
He
told you
leaves
you love
logic.
someone
Yeah.
so much that you're willing to take them and live with them for the rest of your life under God's, and then somehow 20 years later you hate them so much you can't wait to get rid of them. So things
Yeah.
change, but your money doesn't. It's still there. But talk about some of the things that you can actually write in a prenup. Can you get down heirlooms, for example?
Yeah.
If you have a special
Mhm.
collection of things, for example, and I thought this was kind of funny. I like to put up a ton of Christmas lights.
Yeah.
Okay, I put up
Yeah.
Christmas lights every year. And I had about 25,000. And one of the things that my ex asked for is half the Christmas lights. And I, and I was like, really? And I was like, sure. I basically let her have whatever she wanted. I wasn't going to argue over Christmas lights. I'm not going to argue over furniture. I'm not going to do it. I just take it and I'll figure it out. I'll live in cardboard boxes until I can get back on my feet again. But I was not going to argue over furniture and stuff like that. I just wasn't going to do it. But what are some things that you'd actually put as part of a prenup without looking too chintzy, if you will, or too picky?
Okay, well, first off, a prenup, it's easier to say what you can't put in, and what you can't put in
Okay.
is child custody and visitation and child support, things like that. What you can put in is any property you want to. I mean, it's not as though, I mean, you truly, when you love each other, is when you need to do it. One requirement of a prenup is a full disclosure of assets so that you know everything there can get set aside if there's fraud in that.
Okay.
But you know what's there and you can list anything you want. If you've got a deflated balloon from your third birthday in your scrapbook and you want to make sure you get that, put it in, man. I mean, now it's going to cost you a lot of money to itemize every single thing, but if that's what you want, we can do it. And the court, I'm going to tell you, when it comes to personal property, if you have divided it to your liking, generally the court is okay with it.
Yeah.
Um, they're not digging too deep into it.
There you go. No ifs, ands, or buts. Fantastic show. 948-4958, 948-4958. Mbutslaw.net, mbutslaw.net. You mentioned before we get started here, and we're gonna keep it short because I think it's been a fantastic show today. But you talked about how busy you are. Is that typical for the summer months? A.
Yeah.
And second of all, I think it's interesting. We're now roughly 3 or 4 years apart of COVID. For some reason, COVID's been coming up a lot. For some reason, people ask me a lot of COVID questions about business and how it's played out. And COVID was
Yeah.
2018, 19, 20, 21.
2021.
When you were going through COVID, you're like, okay, now everyone's being forced to be together. Everyone's staying home. Are we going to have a mass divorce situation? Blah, 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 blah. Has it played out like you thought it would after we were told we could not leave our households for 2 years?
Yes, because
Yeah.
I expected things to go back to normal at a certain point in time.
Yeah.
And especially there with, I mean, there was a lot of pushback on all that. There were a lot of mad people, and I mean, look, I was working for the court at the time, and I helped get Zoom hearings going because that really
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily too much of a thing. So look, I knew it was going to come back to normal. I was hoping for it sooner rather than later, and it really has. I mean, you've got some people that were so burnt out on Zoom hearings, or judges that are so burnt out on, they're like, nah, not unless I just have to.
Yeah.
And then you've got others who are still open to it and who embrace the technology and says, hey, yeah, we could do this. So it just depends on the judge.
Do you still have people doing Zoom?
I had one Friday.
Really? So you can actually do a court on Zoom. You don't have to go to the court
A
and do a Zoom.
hearing.
A hearing. Okay.
Hearing.
But the actual
Now,
court case has to be in the court.
I mean, if you're trying a case now, during COVID, we had Zoom trials.
Yeah.
All right. So we came up with a whole intricate system of submission of document, all of that to make sure that it was good. But at the end of the day, we need to have trials in courtrooms, and we need to face our accusers, and we need to be able to submit physical documents.
Amen to that. Fantastic job, my friend. No ifs, ands, or buts. He is Matt Butts. He does great work. If you've liked the show, then you're going to love him as your attorney. Divorce attorney, family law, mbutslaw.net, mbutslaw.net. It's BUTTS 948-4958, 948-4958. Carve out some time next week, my friend. People are chiming. They want to see their buddy.
Yeah.
And maybe we put out some more rap videos. We
No,
can do
come
some more.
on. So I've had no time. I wish. I'm teaching at a camp Friday.
Yeah.
For musicality again.
Mhm.
So I'll do a little bit there, but I'm actually recording a jingle, I guess, for a hunting brand right now. So
Nice.
I've got to get that out before I get anything else out.
Well, I started taking
It's
piano
going
lessons.
good, though.
I started taking piano lessons last
Good.
week. Yeah.
Good,
So,
man.
so
How's it going?
I started doing some stuff online. I took piano lessons a long time ago for just a couple of years. I got to the point where I could actually play with two hands. And I'm 60 years old. I'm like, this bucket list. I want to learn how to sit down at a piano at a fancy bar and play some Christmas music. I just want to be able to play some
Yeah,
tunes.
man.
So I'm going to get out, and so
Yeah.
maybe I can play some piano to your rap.
Hey, you know what's an easy song that you wouldn't think would be an easy song? Walking in Memphis.
Really? Okay.
Pick that one up.
Walking Memphis.
That's a
All
good.
right.
Yeah, that's a good one to
Yeah,
learn.
I mean, there's a great site where people just need to realize the chords, and
Mhm.
it's really not that difficult. If you pull up Walking to Memphis, obviously there'll be something where the keys are colored and you can do that thing. But you can go to the site and basically it tells you exactly what chords are used in Walking to Memphis. So chances are there's 4 or 5 of
Yeah,
them. That's the same chords over and
yeah.
over and over again. You learn those chords, and once you learn those chords, and then you're using those chords with other songs as well. So I played trumpet for 9 years. It's kind of the same, but kind of different. So
Yeah.
yeah, but who knows? It's be good stuff. Hey, I love you, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, you too, brother. I appreciate you.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.